to call the meeting to order at 7:49 p.m. First item on the agenda is, can you shut the doors?
Closing
Because
doors.
everyone's still out there. Privilege of the floor. Mark, going once, twice?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I want to sort of ask a question, and I really apologize because I'm a little out of the loop on what's been going on. But I just want to first say, actually, I want to wait for Matt to come
We have a question on the floor for you. Yes.
in. No, it's not a question. I wanted to say that that the little bit that I know of what's been going on since I've left here, I just want to commend all of you, everybody, the staff and the board, on the directions that you've been going. I mean, it's very impressive, and I think it's been a really wonderful direction that you're going in, and I feel like it's like a new, clean slate, and it's a fresh idea. Matt, I think you've done wonderful things, really, really wonderful things, and I just want to commend you on that. But my question is, and this is a little left field, and I don't know where you are with the Salesian property, but could I ask that question, where you are with the Salesian property at this point? Is it a unanimous thing that one way or the other? Are you still looking at it? Are you?
We took out a mortgage, as the public is aware finally, to mortgage the property. So every year we paid out a big chunk of money. So in 5 years, the land will be bought regardless, because now we have a mortgage on it.
Right.
So in 5 years, it will be ours. What we're doing with it, we haven't really come to a concrete answer to that, because the Quattrini building has come up. And we are visiting other avenues of expanding this building is not going to happen. I think somebody brought that up before, and we've looked, and it's not feasible, and it just cannot be done.
Well, those questions, when people say that, they obviously
As
have
you know,
not,
nothing on the
they
board.
don't know what's going on
Right.
here, because, I
Right.
mean, that is a dead issue.
Right.
But, but the Quattrini building, I'm curious, because that was just about when I left. I mean, Jim and I and, Bill,
visited.
we went and we saw the building, and I've seen it a number of times, and I just, personally, I think it's a very big mistake. But I would much rather you stay here for another couple of years more, because, I mean, Matt has done such incredible things with making this so much more usable. I mean, this down here is just fantastic that this is all down here now. It just makes so much sense. And now that it's not so damp and everything else, it's great down here. The children's area down here. I mean, I would just think that just hanging out and trying to, see the economy come around and try to visit that land. I just have to say to you, please, please, please don't let that land go. It's the last frontier in this village, in this community, and it's the place where the new library needs to be. Granted, it needs to be a much smaller building than we had planned on originally. The original concept was way too big, and I'll be the first one to say that I was part of it, and that it was way too big, it was way too expensive, it was outlandish. I look at it in hindsight as we were on a moving train and I couldn't get off. It's the only way I can put it. Okay, and the next plan needs to be much smaller, much more conservative and expandable, like Jerry Boss said. I think it needs to be where you have to plan for expansion, and but on that piece of property, it makes so much sense, and it is absolutely a jewel.
What's
And
the problem with
I
that?
will fight with anybody about it. So-
For one mark, there's two anti-marks. So the
Oh.
board is between a rock and a hard place, and I've had discussions with Matt, and bottom line is 51% of the vote that's who we have to listen to, because
Okay.
that's what we're here to do.
Alright,
So
then-
our hands are tied.
Okay, let me I'm just gonna throw one last thing and I won't say anything more. Just if some strange reason somebody were to come forward and say, I wanna buy that land for you and pay for the land. Buy it for the library and now you own the land. Could I just just get a feeling for, would that change anybody's mind about that land? Would
I
that
love
make
the
it,
land.
would that make it
I
better?
I think it
for
would help
people?
I think it would help the public. As the board, I'm not sure how they feel, but I'm sure if the land was paid for and it wasn't on the taxpayers' backs and it was a done deal, then I'm sure they would be happy that the land is bought and off of their tax burden. And what to do with after that is, like you said, expandable little, 5,000 maybe at a time square feet type things.
I mean, would you say, how many, there are only,
We're missing two, we're
Oh.
supposed to have 7.
it's Bill and who?
Esther.
Oh. So you think that might change things if that were to be, I mean, if somebody in the
offering?
community were to approach, pardon me?
Are you offering?
No, I'm not offering, but,
I think
it's
the way we're
something that
pushing it.
I think about on almost a daily basis that, I haven't given up on this project. And I haven't given up on trying to find somebody to buy that land for us. And I say us, I mean Goshen. And I am, to my dying day, I will say that was the best thing that was ever done on this, in the 10 years that I was on this board, that land happened. 12 years. 12 years, 3 days, and 27 seconds. Okay, I'm done. But I really hope you'll.
You keep asking Mark, have them write us a check, and we'll work for it till our bones are brittle with the community, if the land is bought and paid for.
Okay.
And I think if we start smaller, that will have a better feel and taste in the community's mouth.
Well, I
as
mean, how much in your cost cutting measures, what did you pay on that on the bond on the mortgage already?
We paid $150,000 down,
that
and then financed the rest of it at 5% for 5 years
Right.
fixed.
Yeah,
that's awesome. That's awesome.
I know.
It is awesome.
It is
And
absolutely awesome.
And rearranging the budget, the money we had for the new building payments and how we rearranged the budget, that line item covers the mortgage expenses
We've
for
already
every, so
we've
it's
already have
all,
our crystal ball.
it's all squared away. We don't have to find new money anywhere next year or the year after. It's already line items in the budget.
I mean, I'm not a sophisticated businessman. I would say any savvy businessman would say, you guys are crazy not to keep that land. I mean, with you've saved, you've put $150,000 down on that thing. That's incredible. That is incredible. I'm very impressed in that. I mean, I really think you should think very seriously about that. What do you think, Frank? About that? I know that
I'm the one that was in favor of reducing the mortgage.
yeah, I just wondered what you thought about the land.
And perfectly honest, my first impression was if someone gave us the money to buy the land, I'd sell the land and get it back on the tax rolls.
If somebody gave us the money to buy the land
Bought the land for us, I'd go and sell it.
and put it back on the tax roll.
That was your first impression.
That's my first impression.
What's your second impression?
I don't have one yet.
So I mean, and you think that more
I don't believe
like
we should have that land. I think that it's a potential liability. I think that we are a library board. We are not a land bank for future endeavors or what might happen. It's not what we're in business for. And if we have to have land, when we have to have a building, we'll get the land. But the idea of taking 5 acres of choice land away from the taxpayers and off the tax rolls and sitting there and being a potential liability and a cost to us.
Do you think that if that land were sold and 10 or 15 houses were put on that land, do you think that those rateables will be more?
I can guess, how about if they put a doctor's, something like Hatfield Lane there, and it was all pure rateables and high-class doctor's offices or lawyers.
Huh.
So, personally, that's what I'd like to see over there, but,
You like to, and having open land, land that you can passive,
Park.
So if
we have
you
a park right there,
what park,
Salesian Park,
right? And
open land.
that whole thing will change drastically if those. I mean, it's going to cut the whole thing right in half.
All right,
You know,
well,
thank God
By the way, that was
thank
my
God
opinion.
that if you ever look at a map of Manhattan Island, just look at it someday. If that was the map, that much of the map is Central Park. Thank God somebody had the foresight to see what a jewel that would be. Thank God they did. Because if they didn't, yeah, they could have gotten a lot of rateables on that land. There could have been a lot of apartment buildings. But I can tell you another thing, that all those apartments and houses that are around Central Park, they're worth what they are because of that park. That's what makes those places, that's what makes living on Fifth Avenue what it is, because of that beautiful park. And living on, Central Park South, why it's such a beautiful place to live. If that park wasn't there, it would be Harlem. Okay.
Thank you, Mark.
thank
Yep.
you. Anybody else for privilege of the floor? Okay. Next item on the agenda is minutes of the meeting of March 8th. Any questions?
I have a question. Is Esther's name spelled E-S-T-H-E-R?
Yes.
Okay.
Did I misspell?
Under old business, it's misspelled.
I'm sorry about that.
I move we adopt the minutes.
Okay, motion on the floor is to adopt the minutes.
I'll second that
All in
motion.
favor?
With that correction.
Motion carries with the correction to Esther's name in old business. Next item on the agenda is treasurer's report.
Okay, good evening, everybody. Spirited discussion going on here. Hopefully, everybody will agree on the numbers I have to present here. And since we were speaking about the land and the loan on the land, these reports that I have in front of us are as of March 31st, but on the balance sheet, on the right-hand column, I wrote, as of April 2nd, we made our third mortgage payment. The balance is now down to $430,992, so approximately $431,000. So in 3 months since we started the $450,000 loan, it's already down about $19,000. So we're chipping away pretty good each month. So again, down to $431. So from the starting point of 600, it's already down by almost a third. In a few months, it'll be down by a third. And our numbers, our operating results are continuing on the trend that they've been on. We're running under budget on pretty much most categories, with the exception of 1 or 2 small areas. In the month of March, we received our last tax revenue installment, 10% of the total tax amount, $115,000. So for the fiscal year, we received all of our funds now. The month of March, we had a great month for library charges, $2,351. The last couple of weeks in March, there was a lot of fines paid, so we did really well there. And also, that relates to next year's budget. We increased the library charges line from $20,000 to $23,000. So if it stays at this pace or anywhere close to it, that number should be accurate for next year. The interest income is amounts from the Orange County Trust Money Market account that we opened a few months ago. The interest income from Key Bank hasn't been entered yet because Rob has to catch up on bank recs. He's in tax season, so he'll be in next week to work on that. But that's not gonna change our interest income by much because the rates are so low now.
So are we expected to get almost 5,000 and only got about 3? Is that what you're saying?
On the interest income?
The interest
Yeah,
income.
yeah.
So we don't have $2,000 we thought we were gonna
Right, right. And I think for next year's budget, we reduced the interest income line because we realized the rates are so low, we're gonna earn less. So we
Uh-huh.
kind of took that into account a little bit. But yeah, the interest income, other than the Orange County Trust, which was, a whopping 1.05%, but that's great compared to our checking account at 1/4%. That's more or less where we're at on that. But overall, our revenue, we're actually over budget by 5,000. Part of that is because we had, I think last year we didn't budget the Way Yonder, and that's the $3,600 in under contracts. So that explains part of the reason why, and then the library charges were over budget too. So we're doing pretty well on the revenue side.
Can I ask you a question about, the checking account is with Key still,
Yes,
and the, our savings, so to speak, is with
Orange
Bank?
County, right.
Is there any financial advantage to having them all in Orange County?
I don't know that we would get a higher rate on the money market. I approached them, they said the best we could do is what we're getting. So I don't know that there would be any.
What is their checking, how do they handle their checking?
We would get a similar rate to what we're getting at Key. So there might not be any advantage, and then it would be, we have a lot of things set up with Key already, like taxes and everything that are automatically withdrawn from there, so I don't know if it would be any benefit to us to move the checking. We did open a checking account with Orange County Trust, because every month when we make the mortgage payment, it can't come directly out of the money market account, it gets transferred over to the checking, and then like a wash account and then in there and then out to pay the mortgage. But I could further pursue that.
Yeah, 'cause sometimes, if you have more than one
Right.
account, they give you a little extra interest or whatever.
Right. I'll definitely look into that. And, but we've been, like you say, we've been funding the Key using the Orange County when
Right.
we need it. In the last month or two, Ellen Mary came in for $50,000 checks to sign to transfer over. In March, we didn't have to do that because we had the last tax revenue coming in, but the remainder of the year, we'll definitely have to be moving more money out of the Orange County over to the Key checking account. But I'll further pursue that then, Jim.
Thank you.
And the salaries and wages line is under budget year to date, but it's not as far under budget it had been. So by the end of the year, it's probably gonna be within 1%, say 6,000 up or down of the total budget amount. Because earlier in the year, we had a lot fewer employees that we have now. We weren't fully staffed. Now we're fully staffed, so the payroll has been over the last couple of payroll cycles. But at the end of the year, it should be more or less close or within 1% up or down of the total budget. And the employee benefits a lot of the taxes and stuff correlate with that, and they're more or less staying in line, slightly below budget. And the retirement, as we know, every month we spoke about the one-time break we got in the retirement this past year. That's really a $36,000 one-time benefit. So in the whole scheme of things, it looks like we're dramatically under budget overall, which we are, but the $36,000, the retirement, will definitely not happen again next year. So we could not count on that again as far as the budgeting for next year's, to how far we'll be under for next year. The next category of expenses, the books in the last month, Audrina and myself have caught up on a lot of the Brodart and Baker and Taylor, and they're pretty much up to date or within a couple of weeks of invoicing, but there's always a little bit of a lag, but they're entered more inclusively than they were at the last board meeting, and we're still running under budget there on the books categories. But by the end of the year, we'll probably be under, but not as much under as it appears in this report. From the last meeting, I moved around some of those expenses that were under the building that were services, some were under services and they went to repairs, I forget the specifics, but we moved them around, we reallocated them to make more sense. Because I think at the last meeting, the building services was dramatically over budget and one was under budget, and they weren't originally coded to the right accounts. The building services is still over budget, but I think there were some one-time expenses that we're all aware of for the reason for that to be over budget. And I think for next year, we added more to one of those lines for next year, so that should cover if we have the additional. Yeah, we added 500 to building services for next year. The snow removal, I think, for the year was lower. This year, I think it worked out that we had the 700 a month or something instead of per event like we had last year. Now, there was some debate as to whether the service was as good or not, but overall, we're gonna stay in line because that helped a lot having it a monthly instead of, because last year we really got hammered with all those ice storms. So it worked out better this year, other than the storm at the end, but the storm at the end didn't affect us because it was all under the 1 monthly fee, so they couldn't charge extra.
On building repairs, we're 27, almost 2,700 under budget, is that correct?
Yes.
2694.
Yes, yep.
And do we anticipate anything that's going to dramatically impact that in the next several months?
No.
Because the building and grounds, we have a list of priorities, one of which, for example, was the vent for the bathroom, which is gonna cost some money because it's electrical work.
Right.
Since that's one of the priorities and there's some money there, we need to perhaps get that job done.
Right. Put out for the bids, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I would note that. But yes, that's almost 2,700 budget year to date. And again, this is through March, so there's still, I think March is the 9-month mark in the fiscal year. There's still 3 months left, so there's still a quarter of the year. So really, there's even more money left in the budget for that for the next 3 months as well. Nothing else really stands out. There's been a lot of programs lately, but they've all been relatively low dollar amounts, so the program lines are looking well. The one thing that I noticed in this report, it has the January, February, March actual expenses, and then a column for the whole year, July through March. The professional services, the last 3 months, the only bill we've had, the $485 is Rob Schultz, or our treasurer. So that shows that we really, compared to prior years, we haven't had nearly the legal fees and stuff that we've had. So, and Rob isn't doing as much as he had because I've taken over some of the stuff he had been doing. So we're really keeping the professional services to a minimal amount. And so again, that of our total being under budget, that's $21,000 right there in professional services alone. But for next year, I think we reduced the professional services amount by 15,000. So we're under 21, but for next year, we've already taken from that line. So
Didn't we take Ben's salary out of adult programming and put it in special services?
yeah, for next year, I think we for next year's budget, yeah, absolutely right. We broke out yes. Programs adult will have one amount, and then Ken's activities will be another amount, both under programs, but split out. So it'll be easier to track under adult programs how much was for Ken and how much was for Eleanor and the other programs under adult programs. But yes, definitely, that'll be done for the beginning of the new fiscal year.
I thought we were putting that into professional services, but we're not, we're doing.
Yeah.
Okay, no problem.
Programs, community development, I think we're calling it. Right. That's about it. And then interest on indebtedness, we're below budget as well for the year. And next year, we know the fixed loan amount what it'll be, so that amount will be right on budget every month, because it won't even be called interest on indebtedness, it'll just be loan payable. The way it was broken out this year, we had part of it to new building and part of it to interest on indebtedness. So, but it's those few key lines that really add up to the bulk of the $159,000 that were under budget on expenses, but several of them are one-time items. So we can't anticipate being that far under budget in the future and for next year. But I would say we'll definitely be at end of June 30th year under budget for this year with some funds remaining. So next year with the no increase, we'll have money to start the year out, because next year will be, definitely be a lot tighter. And that's about it. I think that's pretty much, I hit all the points I wanted to hit on. And any questions, or if there's any research anybody would like, I'd be happy to take care of it for you.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to accept the treasurer's report? Thank you, Laura. Second, Frank. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Next is director's report.
Thanks.
Good evening, everybody.
Hi, Matt.
Most of this month was taken up with preparation for the vote, obviously. Seems there are innumerable pieces of that puzzle to get that to flow along. Carol, of course, being the clerk of the board, really bears the brunt of it, getting all of these information lined up for the papers. Obviously the newsletter is a big part of it, which is, it's always a tricky newsletter to get out on time. But it hit right around where I wanted it to. I was happy with how it turned out. Actually, I had Kit Wallace came in today to commend us on our, I don't know if all of you know who she is. She's who our Wallace Room, their family's who the Wallace Room here is named after. Sort of prominent woman of Goshen, seems to know the history of Goshen inside out, like Anne. Came in to just give me the good word on, she liked the newsletter layout, which I was happy to hear. She said we had a lot of information, she liked how it looked. I was still working on it, still tweaking it, or whatever, but it's coming along. Let's see, what else do we have here? We're working hard on the Made in Goshen program, which is Jim Tarvin's Historical Society Subcommittee group. It's their first run at basically an adult program on the history of Goshen. It seems like things are coming together. It was done kind of on short notice, but people seem to have rallied and gotten a lot of response from the community. People seem interested. Ann and I will be there at one of the tables with some items made in Goshen. The idea is, for those of you that don't know, it's a celebration of Goshen's history of manufacturing, of artists. So people we've sort of solicited interest in the community. Some people are coming with their own memorabilia, mementos, artifacts to display at the church on Saturday night at St. James. And so far so good. We made some flyers, distributed them throughout the town. I brought some to the Chinese restaurant, and I think Jim brought a bunch out, and also made some new trifolds for the local history. Basically, Jim's piece in the paper we turned into a trifold for people, and Ann Roche had a trifold that we updated. So that seems to be coming together well. I'm happy to say that the Friends also seem to be coalescing slowly but surely. I don't know, do you want to remark any about that?
Yeah, the Friends group is kind of reorganizing, getting itself underway again. They're going to have a reorganization meeting, I believe it's May 18th. Is that the day of the school budget vote? Yeah. Meeting will be at 7 o'clock here in this room. The idea being that people can vote and then come here, or come to the Friends meeting and then go and vote. I have collected $185 in donations to Friends, and people that are joining Friends. They can choose, individual membership or joint, or different levels of giving. And do you have the
Ann.
new? Oh, Ann, can you? I have the. Thanks, Ann. I have the new form. What we're doing is we're going to revise, and I want to do each of these, not simply as an academic experience,
Let's join.
but to join.
Yes, we
It seemed to
should.
me that all of us should be members of the Friends group.
Absolutely.
And
Okay.
what you do on the form is you indicate what kinds of projects you're interested in, because there are a variety of projects. You don't need to simply check one. Hopefully people will be interested in it. one or more.
Jim, can I have a few more, please?
Yes. Did I give you one?
No.
You gave me one, right?
We can give it to Jim at the
This
next
is a
meeting,
great
or leave it in the
idea.
library.
This was
with
just
friends.
the best.
Probably they have a box.
This is
Yeah.
great.
It's not.
If you have, $5 or a check, I'll tell you, one of the most important things on this is the email address, because if we have that, then the group can really communicate without having to meet, which is very hard for people to meet, obviously. Some people really want to focus on children's reading programs, and some people want historical society activities, and others want to do, there's a garden club listed there. Some people have expressed an interest in trying to do what they can outside the building. We have one very sunny side of the building, which, is kind of plain, and it might be a place where we could have a little garden, maybe get some kids involved as well as some, older friends. So basically, the group is trying to reinvent itself, and I think so far it's going well. I'm hoping to have 30 or 40 members by the 18th of May, and if we can have, half of that group, or even 10 or 15 show up for the actual meeting, I think we can get 20 again.
Can I
Obviously-
interrupt, Jim? You said something about it, you said an email address that's on here?
No,
Did you-
no, we want
Oh,
yours.
I'm sorry,
Yeah,
I'm
we
sorry.
want your email address, that's the idea.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. Now, I didn't list here, book sales.
I see that.
There's a fundraising box, but ultimately, I think everybody's gonna have to be helping out in some, in some way. There's the Great American Weekend, we're gonna be open one day. And then the farmer's market, we've made arrangements to have 3 dates this summer, one in June, one in July, one in August. And we're gonna try to sell some used books at the farmer's market.
Great
See how that
idea.
goes.
That's
So-
such a great
So
idea.
we'll see what happens. And what I'd like to do, I know over in Monroe, they have a number of summer interns, high school students who are looking for an internship experience. And I'm hoping that as an adult program, we can maybe get some high school students to help at the farmer's market. And I'm not sure of how we would do that as a joint project with the library and with friends, or the friends would have the interns helping them or what, but that's something we need to work out. Obviously, it's got to be done in a very professional way when we're working with young people. So there's also a box, I'm considering a major donation to the library. Now, that doesn't say to the friends. It says to the library. Because the friends may bump into people who want to make major donations to the library, and we'd like to know about that. And of course, then we would refer those people to that. Get their email address.
Leave us in your will.
Yes, absolutely.
In the bulletin of church, it says, don't forget us when you're making out your will. It says it in our bulletin of church. It's not a bad idea.
Also, there's going to be a small book sale downstairs, children's books, shortly after your friend's reorganization meeting, and now that weekend, I think, following. So I'll try to get you more information about that. If you have a couple of people interested, Michelle could use the help. It's to raise some more money for the summer.
Okay, find the time. Give us the time.
Okay.
The date.
Also, simultaneously, while working on helping out with the local history show and tell, did some work with Ken, who's, as you've heard, done a great job with Cobb. I have yet to see it myself. I'll go next weekend, but we helped him out with some just PR stuff, so we worked together on that. It seems like it's generating interest. I didn't check, by the way, the paper, whether there was a review yet.
No,
I didn't have a chance after.
But I thought the comment that Keith made, that it was comparable to Off-Broadway, it really was. It
That's
was,
great.
it was excellent production. I was just I was not expecting anything
That
at
level.
that level, quite frankly. It was just great. And as Ken said, it's educational theater. You know, I follow baseball. I'm not, you know, a fanatic, but and I thought I knew a lot about Ty Cobb, but I really learned a lot about Ty Cobb and about America. And of course, America's, you know, reaction to Ty Cobb, to Babe Ruth, to the Negro Leagues, and so on. There's just a lot of information there.
Let's see, this seems to be a month of building concerns. I outlined them here. P&M Alarm came in for their annual fire inspection, and a couple of our those heat detectors needed rewiring. First time since I've been here that there's been a problem with them that I can recall. Usually they just come in and give us the green light, it's fine, but they had to rewire 2 of those. CR Wolf came, they do our air conditioning heating. They come every year just for general maintenance, and happily there was no problem. They just added some coolant or refrigerant. I mentioned the leak that was addressed in-house above the bathroom. That seems to have held, but there's another leak that comes and goes depending on how much it rains. When it really rains for a few days, there's a leak at the Main Street side of the building, right as you come in through the foyer, like right on the other side of that. It never comes through, or it hasn't since I've been here, but you can definitely hear a fairly fast tapping of water dripping in there. So that should at some point be looked at. Mark knows all about it. The electrician came in, so we now have electricity and network computers on the top floor. So we're using that space, which used to be for the chapter books for kids, is now overflow and an office essentially on one side. There's a desk up there. 2 people share it. So far, so good. We're just having to learn how to use our library voices up there, because it seems like even whispering travels through the building, but it's okay. Let's see. I think that's about it. We're still waiting for the electrician to address the lighting down, because that's the one complaint I've gotten occasionally, is it's dim in certain corners. And he did come and analyze it and thought, I think I may have mentioned this last meeting, it may not take actually, he may not need to put new lights in. He said he may be able to just manipulate the ones we have and it might work. So, you know, he's very in demand. I was happy we finally got him to do the upstairs. He said he'd try to get here last week, so I'm hoping this week. And I think that's about it. The voting machines arrived today. We were happy. They were supposed to be here Friday, but there was some confusion at the school. But they're here now and they're ready to go. So I think that's about it.
I wanted to ask a question. In Eleanor's report, she talks about the tax forms, pardon me, and that the library seems to be the only location to acquire these much-needed tax forms. When people come in and ask, are these numbers included in our statistics?
No, we haven't. I mean,
Probably should.
we could do usually what we do for the statistics is just take we pick sort of a random week at 2 different times of the year, but I guess we could do that, because that is a...
Well, if you know you have 100.
Right, we could count backward, actually.
Right. You know,
Right.
with 100 forms, then you have 100 requests.
Except for
You
those
said
that
you
come in and
said
take
you've
5
run
at
out.
once because they're afraid they're going to make a mistake,
You've
but
run
you know,
out.
we can get
Yeah.
we can get an estimate, right?
Right. I just think it would,
Yeah, we could, sure.
it's a service that the library.
Now, I was told, I'm not sure, I didn't check on this, but even the post office doesn't carry the IRS forms. It used to be they would get the IRS, but not the state. And we would get both the state and the IRS. I don't know if that's...
They had something, they had boxes of forms, but not like
Okay.
they did last year.
No.
Last year they had like a
Yeah.
big table piled high. This year it wasn't like
Yeah.
that at all.
It's, government's trying to wean us off the paper.
Well, they're trying to make everybody go online.
Right.
You can print it off.
Right.
You can print it yourself and then fill it out yourself at home, which is, I think, our ink, not theirs.
And I think that sums out, the annual appraisal finally is underway. There was a couple, I don't know why, I guess they got behind, but they started, last week, Jack?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. But the annual audit.
Audit, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, they were busy with their tax time, and they kind of put us at the back.
And how long does that take?
They'll come in, they're gonna come back next week and give us, a list of like 200 bills they wanna look at, so it's time consuming for Audrey and myself to pull it all, and we give them the originals, they copy it, then they give it back.
They're usually here a few weeks, right?
Yeah, they'll probably be here for a couple weeks. They'll be here for 2 or 3 days, do some, and then take it back to their office, and then come back a couple weeks later. But the whole process will probably be 5 to 6 weeks total, so.
And when do we get the, who wants to take us the other report?
Couple months after that, probably.
It's like in the fall sometime,
Right, right. But it's definitely less urgent this year now that the loan has all been squared away, so.
Right.
Sure.
I just think Matt should be complimented for going up on the roof and stopping one of the 2 roofs. There aren't many library directors that
Do that, yeah.
do that.
That's true.
Danny did most of the work, he just needed help with,
Need someone to hold the rope.
Okay, under new business, election inspectors. You have a list of the inspectors in your packet. Everybody. We need to make a motion to accept the inspectors as listed on your sheet for April 14th, 2010. Jim, Laura, thank you. All in favor? Motion carries. Next up is Ann for our Historical Society fees. Lay it on us.
And let me preface this, I'm sorry to
Please.
interrupt. I just want to say, I did a check of the RCLS system. I thought that this would happen because no other library in the system has this dual nature that we have, has this, charter. So they all have rooms or they have just, a corner somewhere. And so none of them came back with a charging fees. But in saying that, I have personally no problem with setting a, if you say $15 per hour for outside of the system. Some of the directors said they've thought about it, and if usage increased enough and it started to take more time than it does, that they would initiate something like that. But as I say, I think because we're unique in that we have Historical Society in our, we're chartered as such, we get, I think, a lot more probably for the size of this library.
Well, I don't have any problem with it as long as it's on the website. I don't want people, like they're doing now, to call me and say, is there any fee? And I basically, if I can answer their question online, they send me an email and I can answer it right away, I do it. I just look in the file. For instance, I had one, they wanted to know about the Goshen Inn, or Goshen Hotel. And I was able to get something in the file. I emailed them back and told them what we had. That was the end of it. Then we had another person ask for a family, and I charged them $20. So, it depends upon what I'm doing. So if you're going to charge, put it on the website, $15 or whatever you charge, decide to charge, plus 25 cents for a copy. That way, they'll know right off the bat. If they're really serious about it, they'll email me.
Okay, I guess we just wanted to get a feel of what you thought your time was worth per se. I don't want to say it like that, but what you think we should charge.
It
out of
depends.
town.
It's always different. I never have, an obituary, I can look up, get an obituary, make a copy and send it to them, 25 cents. And that only takes a minute, because we have all the obituaries.
If they're doing it online, how are they remitting the money?
They'll send you.
Who sent a check?
That's right, just PayPal.
that shouldn't be too difficult.
Yeah, it's just electronic, right? It's like we have an account and it would just go in.
Whatever, I don't handle money anyway, so I don't really
If you're
care.
a business and
Yeah.
have a PayPal account, there's
I'm sure there
right.
must be, but
But
maybe
if
there's
we're a
another
library,
option.
there might not be. I don't know if they make an allowance for that. Like with credit card companies.
I'm wondering if we should look at requests as sort of in 2 categories. If someone calls up and has a question or emails and has a question, and it's the kind of thing that you can answer, in 5 minutes because you just walk over to the file, open the file, well, here it is, and you let them know. It seems to me something like that, we could simply, as a professional library courtesy, so to speak, to people, if they give you something where you're going to be spending a chunk of time, then I think we should have a fee. But I can't really see a person walking in the room. I mean, when I was in the history room today, someone walked in, they were trying to find out about the Battle of Minnesink,
Mine,
and this guy happened to live in Campbell Hall. He was not in our district. So what is he supposed to do? Say, well, I can't answer that question
unless you
because,
pay me $15.
yeah, you're gonna have to sit down and you're gonna have to write a check, and then I'll tell you, it's in the county building.
No, when we first came up with this, what we were seeing online was $15, $25, $30 an hour for research.
Right, it's,
And that if Ann knows the answer, or if it's a matter of, what it was to, get income for the Historical Society, but also to make sure that the people who are requesting something that's labor intensive were serious.
So the word
So we aren't
research in
wasting our
that
time.
case.
Yes,
is-
it would be
Yeah,
research.
I think that's an
Right,
excellent
so,
Right.
well,
way to handle
that
it.
was what I
Yeah.
had in mind when we were discussing this the
That's
first
good, I
time.
like that.
So
Good.
if it's just a quick, if Ann knows the answer
Yeah,
off
right,
the top of her
it's-
head, we're talking
right.
5 minutes,
and
and, right, 25 cents a copy plus postage,
That's
that
fair.
sounds all reasonable to me.
And one of the reasons why you were invited to this meeting was that you would, to get you to give us a sense of how many requests and what kind of requests you get in a normal X period of time.
Well, I'm gonna say lately, since we're online and we have a form that people fill out, maybe 5 a week. Most of them are simple things, like I just said that somebody wanted a Goshen Inn, Goshen Hotel. Somebody else wanted a family file, I was able to help them. Most information I can get for them, and if I can't, I just refer them to the Orange County Genealogical Society. So it depends upon how much information I have. If I have enough, I can help them. If I don't, then that's where I send them.
Because I have a recollection of a conversation we had about a year ago over in that pit that you used to call an office. And in which you mentioned there were about 300 inquiries a year.
A year.
And that roughly 2/3 of them were from out of town.
And that, well, yeah, I
I
mean,
think
not
were
only
roughly
emails,
the
well, I'm
numbers
saying
that came
email,
up in our
letters.
conversation.
We not only have emails, I also get phone calls. I had a phone call from someone from Missouri, another one from Michigan. Like I say, I can help them, I do. I have, someone is coming in May 18th. It's not the day I work, but it says on the website, by appointment. So I made an appointment, she made an appointment to see me on the 18th of May.
I mean, as you know, I value you.
Thank you.
And I also feel very strongly that we, as trustees of this library, have no business providing services to people who are not members of our community and not members of the constituency at the expense of our constituents.
Well, my feeling also is that everything that we have up there in the files has been donated to us by genealogists. Otherwise, we wouldn't have all these files. So we're sharing what we have to others, and consequently, they come back to us. So, you know, it's twofold.
In other words, you're saying that some of the stuff that we have, or much of what we have, came from outside the district.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot, the people that call you, aren't they calling you about their family that
That lived here.
lived here and were part of this community at
Right.
one time?
Mhm.
it's sort of a tradition in local history rooms to, the genealogists especially, to share whatever. If they come in and search the, the Smith family, where they'll leave whatever they have for you to add into your pile, These are the
Oh,
Smiths from
right.
Albuquerque, their family goes back
Right.
to Goshen, so
Huh.
they'll come in. And so there's a kind of a mutual benefit there,
Exactly. Exactly. So,
But that doesn't stop local history societies from charging for in-depth research. That's the thing. It's sort of in library parlance. It's what's ready reference and what's actual time, consuming research. Yeah, it's just a matter of drawing that, finding out what that one is, what you want to.
How many of these research jobs do you get then?
well, I have 3 here from last week.
Ooh.
So,
3 in a week.
I mean, that I've done. I mean, I've been sidelined. I haven't been able to do it. I'm behind. You know, I do what I can. I even do stuff at home. And the obituaries, I mean, I'm always doing the obituaries. There's more to do in the library than just research. So, whatever you decide, if you decide you want, just put it on the website, that's all. Though that way, if they're really, really serious, I can help them.
So what does the board wanna do?
I think that it makes sense anyway, that we agree that if someone calls up and it basically involves research, it's a project, it's gonna take a chunk of time, that we should have a fee schedule. Whether it's $15 an hour, $20 an hour, so, you know, that's up to the board.
Could it be a sliding? I don't know, just, you know, I wanna help people. I don't care if I get money for it or not, but I know we have to, but.
But how do you want to proceed? Do you want to start with $15 an hour and just see how that works and see if
I
it's
think
up?
that makes, that's, yeah, I would think $15 an hour, and if you're talking something that's gonna take half an hour or longer, the 1 hour minimum, this seemed to be the standard.
Right.
We looked at
Mhm.
thousands of
Yeah, that's-
websites, and that was,
Yeah.
seemed to be the standard.
Right.
Was it was one of them, some of them were 1 hour minimum, some were 2 hour minimum. So if you're going to do something that's more than a 15-minute job, then it's the research, and then it's, you know what I
Right.
mean? You use your discretion, you
Right.
know when you're getting into a job of working.
Can I ask you questions?
Sure.
First one would be, does that, you were saying you only had time to do 3 this week or so?
No,
Or
yeah,
you've
because
only-
I have other things.
Because you have other things to do. So if you start to charge her time, does that make it more of a priority against whatever else she has to accomplish? Was the first question. The second question is, if somebody if somebody calls up and asks for research for a particular item, and then somebody else, well, 2 cases, related, asks for the same information, should they be charged the same fee if it's already done? Or if somebody entirely different happens to call on the same thing, should they, you know? The only question I thought of was the middle case there is if you actually give them some type of tracking number that she can refer back to and not charge a second time for the same person. But then if somebody else entirely new comes in and doesn't have a case number, you can still charge for what she's already done. But that's something to consider.
I think this has to evolve, and right now we're just starting off, and I think the thing to do is
Just see
tackle
how
the
it
problems
goes.
as they show up.
Yeah, well then the first question is still pertinent. Do you want to make it more of a priority of her time if she's,
Well,
No,
Anne
it's
is the
just,
one
that is
who,
part of my,
that is part
my
of her job, that is her
That's my
job.
job. This is first, and then I do things in between, and like I said, I do home, I do the index for the obituaries online at home. And we just moved that room upstairs, it's been in storage since 1997. Everything's been in storage, so in January we brought everything up, and I'm still working on getting things in order. So, you know, I'm trying to do in between. And I only work 2 days a week, so.
Okay, so should we put a motion on the table to charge 25 cents per copy as postage? And we'll say $15 per hour on in-depth research. And we'll put it on the website with a 1 hour minimum. Carol?
The motion, I was just wanting to make sure it was clear, it was 25 cents a copy plus postage.
Mhm. And $15 per hour, 1 hour minimum. And that will
that's
be
at
at
Anne's
Anne's discretion. You have, it's your call on all that. We're just giving you a basis, so people, it'll be on the website, David, so they'll know upfront. They're paying $15, you know, if it's in there for that hour and on, so they,
Just don't give
they'll
the
make
store
decision.
away, Ann.
I promise.
Right. Okay, so do I
Yeah,
have a
well,
motion
Jack-
to accept
Jack
that?
will keep a record of,
Sure.
Yeah, we'll have to
You
have
just
it
let me
on
know when you,
Right, we
Look
have
Like
to
we-
try
into,
to
look into PayPal, 'cause
Right.
that would simplify a lot of
how much
things.
that's gonna be, and we need to keep track of all monies incoming, so, yes.
What happened to that motion?
We
I'll make
got
a motion.
sidetracked because we were talking about
I'll
PayPal. We have
second it.
Jim and Ellen, all in favor?
You can actually, when this, the statement on the website needs to, we don't want to scare people away, we just have a 1-minute question.
No, we'll
So the
say,
way it's phrased needs to be
Right,
Indicate.
in-depth
Yeah.
research. or-
right,
in-depth research,
they'll
something like that.
type it away with what we just motioned to make it not scary. Okay, motion carries, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ann. Next item on the agenda is the nominating committee for the reorganizational meeting in May. And I would like to ask Laura and Jim to be on the nominating committee, please. And
You can tell me what to do.
Okay.
And since this will be Laura's last official act as trustee, even though she's not physically here, she still is a trustee until the May meeting. So you guys, you will present what you two come up with at the
Okay.
May meeting.
Okay.
And Laura's comfortable with that.
But you'll be in attendance at the May meeting?
This is her last.
This is my
This-
last,
This is.
Yes.
unless
it.
you have a work session.
Right.
I'm
Would you like us to
officially,
schedule one?
I think she does. So what committee is she on? We'll put her on every
Not
committee
so
for the next
fast,
meeting.
Laura.
remember, you're officially a trustee until the new trustees are sworn in.
Right.
So,
So
You're
she
sworn
will
in
be a
at the-
That's
trustee
the May meeting.
until the May 10th meeting, so
you know.
you are more than, it only
Right,
takes
but
one
you-
person to present.
Right, so you can
Anyway.
present the slate of officers. Yes, I'll be in touch with
Thank you. May meeting discussion, Matt.
It's come to my attention that Carol wouldn't be able to make the meeting as it is presently scheduled, and was wondering, since there are a number of sort of important details that transpire during that meeting, if we
Oh.
might be able to change the date.
May 10th.
May 10th, and you want to do what? 17?
So. as
I
long
know
as
it's
okay
highly
with the new
unusual to
people.
change for
May
the
17th,
clerk,
okay
but
with you?
So if you win, you'll be here?
I'm just saying.
Wednesday.
May 17th, mark it down,
You don't wanna
because
miss
that's a
your
big
first meeting.
thing. You guys get assigned
You need a
committees
motion on
and,
that to change the date?
Sure,
No,
to make it
no.
official.
No.
We
Well,
don't?
No?
okay, we won't
Oh,
motion,
we
but
don't need a-
we'll
Oh.
state for the record to write down in the minutes that the next meeting is moved to May 17th.
Thank you, appreciate it.
And, yeah, okay. So everybody, you guys are aware, and Keith should know by just in the paper, or we can shoot him a call or something. Okay, also, in other, I guess I'll go to, Frank had asked for the auditors to come to this meeting, is that what he had asked for?
No, we talked about the possibility of having
Rob?
Rob come by. And I don't know why, what was the?
He's in the middle of
concern?
tax time, I'm sure.
Yeah, he'll be freed up, and by the next meeting, he should be a lot more available to schedule.
I just wanted to know if that was still something that you wanted us
No,
to pursue.
no, what I had asked for is, Matt had talked about in the last directors meeting that, we don't have to have an annual audit, outside audit, and that he wanted to, he raised the question about not spending the money for an outside audit, and my concern was that we do have the outside audit, and that we have no controls and balances other than that. But, I think it's important, and I thought it was carried that we were
I
going
thought
to
we
keep
covered
the,
that.
Yeah,
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 outside audit.
yeah, we had
Question was
said
whether
at
it
the
could be done
last
annually.
meeting, right,
Right.
and we decided to keep it
Well,
as
it was-
it is.
Yeah.
It was just brought up to save us 5,000, it was just, I always like to bring the option, and we decided
It was
to leave
Rob,
it.
Rob actually
Believe
brought it
me,
up to me. He-
believe me,
Yes,
I'm
that's
not in
right.
favor of spending $5,000, but, for something like that,
Checks
I
and
think it's
balances.
very important that we have an outside look at it.
Okay, so we'll leave it as nothing changes, I just wanted to revisit it. Old business is now done business.
I have one
Yes.
new business item. I'm wondering if anyone has visited the Warwick Library? Yes.
So
I
we
saw
have-
that article
If not,
today.
if not, yes, the wonderful
Oh,
article.
right, Steve
If not,
Israel, right?
Yeah.
you must see it. You have to see this library. It's, It's not- it's not far from the old building, just keep
It's on the
going
same
down
street.
Forester Avenue. It's like at the end of Forester Avenue. Where the old building was, just go around a little bit and just stay on that road. Go straight. Anyhow, it's 20,000 square feet, 10 and 10, 10 over 10, and it is just beautiful. You have to see this library, it's just amazing. It's a bit reminiscent of Princeton on a much smaller scale, of course. Princeton's 1,000 square feet, and also even Suffern. And I highly, highly recommend it. And Pauline is a volunteer there and would be happy to give you a tour.
And the West Point Library is really awesome, but we won't talk about who pays
No.
for that.
But just, 15 minutes down the road,
Yeah, we really should have a field trip.
it's mandatory that
Let's
you
learn
see
about
this,
it.
that's all I
We should-
can.
We'll go get ice
advise.
cream later on.
That's right.
Yes,
If we
Frank.
get paid.
But again, in new business,
Yes.
I'd like this board at least to join me in thanking Laura for all of the many, many years that she's given this group and this organization. I know you feel that you and I haven't seen eye to eye in a lot of things. A lot of the things I say is just really to get a discussion going, and I know it's not the way you want to see things run, but I know that the library has been an important part of your life, and it's been important to you. I will miss you on this board. I will miss you for more than one reason. I can tell you one of the primary reasons is that I look at you as the corporate memory of both this building and this board. And I think you are an incredibly important tool, and I shouldn't use that word as a tool, but you are a very, very
Resource.
important resource to us and to the library in general. I want to thank you for all the years of your help, and I mean it sincerely.
Well, thank you. It's
And I wish everybody well.
I was going to do the privilege of the floor, but I guess
Well,
now is
I'm
my
not
time
going,
as
I'm not
well.
going too far, so,
still
no,
live
I'm
here.
still here. I'm
She
still
will be an
here.
invaluable
and
resource for information
and
and questions.
Email me or ask me a question, if my feeble memory recalls it.
And if
I'm
you
glad
can
to help
answer
out.
it
And
very
I'm-
quickly,
Is it
you won't charge
$15 an
us
hour?
$15.
Just official minutes or
It's
something.
been,
Could we
you know, it's
change
been
the
my
late
passion,
fee to a quarter?
basically.
Well, I thank you for your time and your commitment and your
And we changed to a
dedication.
quarter.
If there's anybody that loves the library, it's you,
I
Laura.
found out over
And you
the
have been
weekend that a
invaluable
postcard
and
costs
a
28
person to
cents.
what a fabulous resource.
I just hope that some of my enthusiasm has worn off and the library courses through your veins as it does through mine, because without the passion, you're not gonna accomplish anything.
Right.
You have to be passionate about this. And I know that, I have some things to say. I'll
Okay.
say it later.
Yep.
Some hints, some real quick hints.
Okay.
Under other, we still in old business?
We're in new business still. Old
I
business,
thought we
a
were-
new business other.
Okay. In regard to this event that's coming up on Saturday night, I'm hoping everyone will stop by. It's not one of these things where you go from 7 to 9. You pop in, you're there for 15 minutes, and then you leave, whatever you want to do. There are many, many different displays that will be there. We keep getting people like, for example, you have a piece of furniture that was made in Goshen
Yeah,
that you're going to be able to bring to the event.
with some help.
We should bring some people that were made in Goshen.
My
There are a
son was
number of-
made in
I'll be
Goshen.
there.
I was thinking of bringing him.
I was actually thinking of getting made in Goshen pins and selling them. for
I
people
was
that
made
were
in
born
Goshen.
here.
There you go, Mark.
And that's
But he
the
was
St.
made, he
James
wasn't
Church.
born here, he was
No,
made here.
Goshen.
Ocean, okay.
Jim, St. James Church.
It's St. James Community Room, yes. And I wanted to mention a name, Mike Wilson, who is the president of JMR Productions, which is a company that's, I think they're in Hamptonburg, Campbell Hall. But they're also affiliated with Goshen, they're part of the Chamber of Commerce, that we're part of, the Goshen Chamber of Commerce. He is doing some photography for us, just to help us along. Photography associated with some of the items in the show, one of which is a very large piece of O'Connor glass. It's about that high off the floor. And originally, it's too valuable to bring to the show. We're keeping it under lock and key here, but he photographed it for us so we could show it to people at the table where the other O'Connor glass will be. And there are people in town who are bringing O'Connor pieces to the show to contribute to that display.
Where is it's somebody owns it in Goshen? It's owned by somebody in Goshen?
The large piece
Yeah.
belongs to the
Yeah,
library.
we have it.
Oh,
Yeah, that belongs to the
Mrs.
library.
Connolly donated it. Keisha
Oh,
Connolly donated it many
Kennelly,
years
yeah.
ago.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
Yeah.
he's doing that photography. He's also photographing the library, and he's been, picking up these architectural details of this building, inside and out. He wants to do some photography at night. He needed me out there. He said he wanted to come back tonight. He was out outdoor shots for the table that deals with Maiden Goshen, the library, Maiden Goshen, obviously. So it's really nice to have people like that jumping in, trying to help us. He'll be there also on Saturday night as well.
Old business, landscaping bids.
I just realized, does this have to be executive because it's contractual or? I can look at it. I put out about, somewhere around 10, I would say 10, and I used the format that you gave me. I had this list of our requests. Well, we have 2, if you count Monaco, we have 3 that have come. I gave them a deadline of 1 o'clock today. So, I don't know. One of them, actually, Purveyor is in the room with us. It's Mark's Allegro. One was Peter's Landscaping, and then Tony Monaco's renewal, which is the same as last year's. They're all around the same. Pass these around. They're around the same. The estimates are within a few dollars. I don't know.
And
This,
it's a point of
should have been
information.
technical resources.
I think you said that the mowing of the property is included in the bid?
Yes.
And is that for, what, 2 mowings a year, or every 2 weeks, or how is it, how is that set up?
once a week.
Do you need one of these back?
Let me see. I had, some people in there.
Do you have that as once a week?
Yeah, once a week.
Okay.
The mowing of this property.
Yeah. How about the mowing out there?
Oh,
Oh, no, I'm sorry, I misunderstood you. No, that's separate.
That's
You're
totally
talking about
separate?
Salesian.
Okay.
That's something
That's
we pay
right.
for per job,
Per-
right?
yep.
Okay, that's not part of it.
No,
I
no.
thought we were supposed to get the maintenance in return for using the right of way
Well,
for the joint rec.
that's still to be hashed out. According to the paper, according to the legal documents I've seen, they are supposed to take care of us, so that's next on the agenda.
the whole thing?
We have to,
According to what I understand, they made a deal that they would keep the right of way clean and do the mowing.
From when? That was from the beginning?
As far as I understand.
is
Now, I
that
came in
an
later.
agreement
this
with the
month.
town?
That's with Joint Rec.
Joint Rec, which is an agency of the town, right? So we
Well,
need to
But
find-
obviously, this is a very unclear, because when I talked to one of their reps, and I don't remember her name.
Kate Schmidt?
Yes. She seemed totally unaware of it.
Well, I think our lawyer has to contact their lawyer and say, look, we've got a contract here, what are you gonna do about it?
Plus, they've been dumping his stuff and junk in.
I mean, there was a time, if I may interrupt, is it right that I speak for a second?
Sure, 'cause-
That there was a period of time, a year or so ago, that the Warren fellow, anybody know his name? I forget his name, that worked for Joint Rec. He kindly mowed into our property there, and he was reprimanded for it because he wasn't supposed to do that. And I could tell you that probably 90% of the people in this room don't realize that they are mowing a good section of it anyway, because if they didn't, that whole beautiful open field would look ridiculous, because
Well, that
there's
could
a
be what-
line right down the middle of the field there that's the library's property, and if they didn't mow it, it would be, it would be really problematic. So they do mow some of it.
So I saw the contract with the joint rec, and it did say that they would maintain the property.
That's right, that's right.
Really?
I shared it with,
It
that's
was a
right.
1 or 2 page,
Yeah.
and I think the
Wow,
wording was they would
that's
maintain
a
the property.
news to me. Boy,
Should
that's
we
a
ask-
great
You
thing.
signed the contract, you were part of that.
Yeah.
That-
Might have been out that
It's a
day.
long time.
I need to revisit that, cause it's already
Right.
April. We'll
I
have to
never,
ask this-
ever
We'll
heard
have to
that.
again with Jim
Yeah,
and get it
we need
fixed.
to have our lawyer
'Cause that
contact their
would be
lawyer
a
and say,
great
we have
thing.
agreement, what's
Right,
going on?
exactly, that's exactly what we have to do, get our lawyer involved in
Yeah, Mark, how much do you think it would take to mow that 5 acres
Oh,
cost-wise?
it's, I mean, we were getting prices of between $700, $800, $900 a shot.
A mow.
It was 600
It-
last time we did.
Okay.
Was it
I
six?
got lucky, I knew that
Yeah.
one was a low.
But that's if you're mowing it when it's this high.
Exactly.
It doesn't cost, if you mow it more
If it's
frequently.
maintained.
And
Yeah.
maybe we ought to get a farmer just to do the haying there.
Well,
I keep saying we should
Sell the
I,
hay.
I've had it done
But nobody
twice. I
wants to
mean,
fight.
there's a guy that
So
was
it's
supposed to
fine.
do it last summer for us.
Nice.
He's a friend of the library and a friend of mine, and he has done it before for us for free, and we sent him
That's
$100
Right, but they didn't-
just to cover his gas. And last summer he just never got to it. But I was gonna say to you that I'd be willing to ask him again if he'd at least mow it at least once this year.
Well, I think we
Keep
should,
it from getting sick.
that may be a last resort, if we can't get the town to do what they agreed to do.
Yeah,
Are you saying the town or the joint rec?
The
Joint
joint
rec.
rec works for the
Works for the
town and the
town.
village, so
Yeah.
those,
Because you said something there for a second to, you said something about keeping the right of way clean. And that's very different than mowing the grass. Because
Okay.
keeping the right of way clean is,
Just that drop.
that's just making sure that people can get down the driveway.
Right.
I mean, that sounds like,
What you remember.
what it would be.
Okay, well, I'll look into it tomorrow, see if I can pull that, the document up that I shared with, last year with Frank.
Maybe you could ask your friend, since last year was, for whatever reason, didn't happen, if he could maybe do it again this year, just so we could get it low, so that if we have to maintain it, it won't be
Yeah,
such a
I
cost.
will look into that ASAP because it should be done right away.
Yeah. Before it's too high. Okay, last thing, old business, other, any other old business?
Or I'm thinking that we didn't act on
What
Oh, we
happened
have
with
to
the
do this.
landscaping bids?
Yeah, well, they're looking at it, all right, so we'll wait.
under old business other, I think we had talked about, in regard to the Katrini building, that we needed a kind of a roadmap as to what steps need to be taken to find out about what it's gonna cost ultimately if we wanna go that route. And, if we don't have the expertise. And was it our lawyer or was it someone from the, RCLS that was?
We should talk to, I should talk to one of us, maybe you and I both should talk to someone from RCLS to start with.
Because RCLS
So
has
they'll-
done
they
this
can get us,
before for
right,
others.
that's, exactly.
Yeah. I don't know that I need to be involved, other than, I think maybe, we need to decide when. Maybe it would be a work session.
We
I
can
don't know.
invite Robert to one of our work
Um,
sessions if you wanna do that.
I guess we should wait till after the new board is seated. But I think RCLS will provide the guidance we need, so, you know, what's involved in taking another step.
Sure.
We may decide we don't wanna take another step after we hear what's involved. But at least we'll have some more information.
I remember the wording was maintain the property.
Right.
Thanks, Mark, good to see you.
Nice meeting.
Thanks for coming in. How did they get all so close? They all looking at each other's shoulders?
So I'm saying,
I think he just goes there and then comes back and then I guess not there and it's keeping the lights on.
Well, one, seems like one is cheaper than the other, right?
She said
Should
the
benefits
lot.
and all resources committee.
Mhm.
So they
I know.
sort of
But there's-
present
This
it
should
differently.
benefits
Yeah,
and resources
well,
committees.
one of them, I'll call it
So you didn't have to-
example
you don't have
A,
the time, though, 'cause you
Right.
have the bids to that.
gives you a monthly bill, and it includes everything, including fall and spring cleanup.
Right.
The other gives you a monthly bill,
Do it now.
and then charges
Making like
separately
after-
for fall and spring cleanup,
Right,
and separately for trimming shrubs.
right.
So
And
this one,
separately for gutters.
yeah, so one is a lot cheaper than the other. When you look at the, you know, the second
Did
proposal,
Monica give you a-
is the surcharge.
But he doesn't have a bid here.
Monica's is $5 a month higher than Mark's.
Is Mark's the cheapest?
Yeah.
And obviously he likes the library, and
However, he's gonna trim the bushes twice a year, and Tony's gonna do it 4 times a year.
But-
But Tony's gonna charge to do the gutters, and Mark's not gonna charge to do the
Mhm.
gutters. So it's
so
not
the
exactly
gutters is probably
comparing
more
apples to
expensive than
apples.
trimming bushes, I would think.
How often are the gutters cleaned?
Well,
Once,
we,
twice a
we don't,
year? Oh,
yeah, I mean,
twice
we'd
a
like to
year.
do it more, but we usually hold off because it's not cheap, so,
Right.
so that would be,
So if he's not gonna charge us, and it's not cheap.
right.
I guess you need to decide if you'd rather have the gutters freer,
Gutters
or
are-
2 more bushes, 2 more times of trimming bushes.
Well, now, now that those bushes have been moved, yes, they're gonna have to be trimmed, but not like they were before, because they were
They're
actually a
against
hazard
the,
before.
Yeah.
Right.
We want them actually to
So
grow and cover
twice a
that
year.
fence.
Right,
Yeah.
right,
Right.
I think it's gonna be cheaper to go with Mark's.
with having the
Yeah,
gutters
I think the
included.
gutters included is a big
Yes, sir.
thing,
Yeah.
is more important than the bushes.
Mhm.
Do you want a motion?
Do I have a motion to accept Mark Gargiulo from Allegro Landscaping's bid as presented in the contract?
I'll make that motion.
And second, Jim.
Yes, sir.
All in favor? Motion carries, thank you. Mark, congratulations, but you're not here.
We just waited a few minutes.
You got another job.
Do you have any other
Okay.
old business, or is that it?
That was it. Privilege of the floor, last minute privilege of the floor for anyone? No?
Thank you for hosting the
Oh,
cupcakes night.
thank you for coming, thank you, thank you. Okay, then I need to make a motion to go into executive session for the purpose of board personal matters. Somebody make the motion.
I'll move.
Jim, second.
Laura.
Laura, all in favor?
Aye.
We're going in whether you want to or not. Okay, at 9:06, we're going into executive session, so that's off.
Better be.
Bye,
October.
public, sorry.